education keeps prices down far more effectively.
As long as suffering of sentient beings remains, I will remain in order to serve.
I imagined God like my grandfather.
In Conversations tonight, my guest trains leaders in leadership. He offers us all the consolation that the greatest leaders have been short, fat, and dare I add, bald. He inspires and motivates people into developing and fulfilling their true potential. It's all a question of, to use the right contemporary jargon, the right attitude. I'm delighted to welcome Shiv Khera. Shiv, what is the right attitude?
Well, attitudes are thoughts of habits. In fact, habits of thoughts, I'm sorry. And it is not our position in life, but our disposition that makes a world of a difference. And I've asked this one question to many people all over the world. If there was one thing you'd like to see change in your organization that would make you more productive, what would it be? And they all said attitude. In fact, that's the most important word in the English language today.
Well, I think that the crux of your effort is the suggestion that you can train yourself or be trained
You bet.
To acquire these,
That's right.
these qualities.
That's right.
And maybe because it comes out of our sort of Indian conditioning, where we have the notion of sadhana, where you spend a long time in practice to change your attitude. And it always seems a little worrying that you can read Daniel Goleman, or you can read a book or do a workshop and be transformed. How do you sort of reconcile this?
Well, let's face it, look at this. You just said practice, sadhana, you said. Sadhana is a lot of effort and so on. And let's come back to the notion which said practice makes perfect. Have you heard that? And many people believe it's true, and that's not really true. Practice does not make perfect. Practice only makes permanent whatever you practice. Only perfect practice makes perfect. Some people keep practicing their mistakes and they become perfect in making mistakes. That's what they do. And that's why it is so crucial. We got to see what we are practicing. Now you said, well, how come 3 days transforms a person? It really does not. People ask me, can you change attitudes in 3 days? I say, you cannot change in 3 days, or 30 years for that matter. But attitude can change in 3 seconds. You know how? The moment the appeal is both to the head and the heart, that's when the change takes place. Change never takes place by appealing to logic alone, never. It only takes place when the appeal is to the head and the heart together. And that's where people start making a change in their lives. One brings awareness, and then they have to take a decision to put into practice, and it changes.
You know, we seem to have entered a culture of self-help, of pop psychology, and you go into any bookstore in the United States and increasingly in India, and you'll find a zillion books and how-tos, ranging from how to deal with parents who love too much, how to deal with your parents who are getting divorced, if your children are getting divorced, and you name it. What do you think are the factors? What is the social context that has precipitated this grasping to change for perfection? Aren't we just fine the way we are?
Well, if we were, then you never need a teacher, you never need a book for the rest of our lives, for that matter. But when you talk of the zillions of self-help books, someone said, well, a hindsight of a teacher is the foresight of a good student. That's one major thing. And when you pick up a book which is properly done or with a positive thing, you are getting knowledge of ages, of centuries in capsule form. Boy, that's worth a lot of time and effort. And what age are we in? We are today in the information age. It is estimated that it took 200 years for knowledge to double from 1700 to 1900. From 1900 to 1950, in 50 years, knowledge doubled. 50 to 60 in 10 years. Today it's estimated knowledge is doubling at every 12 months. So it is not change that is the challenge, the speed of change that is the bigger challenge than anything else. And two, you hear consultants keep telling you changes, 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 changes. Well, I guess that keeps them employed. Change is inevitable anyway. It's going to happen whether we like it or not.
But implicit in that...
You see, all progress is change, but all change is not progress. We got to start looking at it. We cannot accept change, Rajiv, just for the sake of change. That is a sign of lack of confidence and inferiority complex. We got to evaluate it, accept only that makes sense, and throw what doesn't make sense. And that's the crucial part. Sorry.
But implicit in this is a value system.
Absolutely.
You can win. Winning is good.
Yep.
Is it?
Well, let's face it, if we keep winning in perspective, then and only then it's good. And I'll share with you a quick example on this one. Ruben Gonzalez played the world title on racquetball. He hit the final shot. It was game point. And referee said the shot was good. The lineman confirmed the shot was good. The title was to transfer, world title. Gonzalez hesitated. He was declared the winner. And he went to his opponent and said, look, the game is not over, the shot was faulty. Lineman and the referee didn't see it. Let's play again. The service changed. He lost the match. When he was leaving the court, everybody asked him, Gonzalez, what did you do? You could have legally walked away with the world title. Why'd you do it? And he said, this was the only thing I could do to maintain my integrity. As he said, if I had taken the title, and when I would go home and see it, it would not be a reminder of my victory, but a reminder of my dishonesty. And it is well said. I would rather deserve a medal and not have it than have it and not deserve it. See, winning is an event. Being a winner is a spirit. One can be a winner without a medal and a loser with a medal. And that is so crucial. And you see, the sad part is, you said the word right values, and there are some right and wrong values too, unlike people who say nothing is right or wrong. Now, don't get me wrong, there are many, many gray areas, yet they are very clear areas. In fact, we have a little title phrase which says, winners don't do different things, they do things differently. How did we get this phrase? It came as a counter to a phrase which said, winning is not everything, it's the only thing. And when people believe that to be totally true, they have to me, it's a distorted meaning to the word killer instinct, which says, you ask a person on the street what is killer instinct, they'll tell you got to win by hook or by crook. That's not killer instinct, that's pure cheating. See, what is killer instinct means two things. One, you never put in 100%, you always put in 200%. And two, if you played sports, in order to win, you must cash in on your opponent's mistake. Not cashing on the opponent's mistake is a mistake. But to win, to start playing foul, that is not killer instinct, that's pure cheating. We gotta keep it in perspective, and that really is the bottom line.
But what is winning?
What we just shared. Winning is an event. Being a winner is a spirit.
But when you're a winner, someone is a loser.
Not necessary. Absolutely not. That's a very narrow way of looking at it. When I say I have pride in my country, does it mean my country is better than yours? Mm-hmm. Absolutely not.
But in common jargon,
yep.
In common conversation,
yeah.
When you win a game, someone loses. When you win a position, someone doesn't get that position. Someone is deprived of what you win.
You see, the funny part is, again, you go back and look at the greatest heroes. Go back to I come back to sports again. 1976, the Olympics was at Montreal. There's a guy, Larry Lemieux, who was hitting the finish line just about, he was coming first. The world was watching. And he saw one of his fellow competitors got hurt. He turned back, got him to safety. And the person who was coming right behind, he won the game. He won the boat race. Larry Lemieux lost a medal, but was he a winner? You bet he was. In fact, the Olympic Association created a new medal for him and said, you are one person who has kept the spirit of Olympic alive. And that is really the bottom line when you look at things.
Yeah, I don't think I'm arguing or suggesting that the models that you suggest are inaccurate or invalid. Obviously, they are the greater heroes. But in the conversation of success and failure, winning involves someone losing. And how do we, in our everyday lives, change that context? You're teaching leadership to the president of a company. The president of a company, in order to become president, triumphs over someone else. When India wins independence, Britain loses a colony.
I don't agree with that, absolutely, for the simple reason, Rajiv, that's again, I think we got to look at it a broader perspective here. You don't have to, see, that's a narrow meaning is, for me to win, you got to lose. The broader meaning is, for me to win, you don't have to lose, we can both win together. And that's really a win-win.
Isn't that just semantics at the end of the day?
Not really, not really. See, the guys who have done it well in life.
You get the satisfaction of winning, through integrity and what have you. I feel deprived and lost.
In what?
For losing.
Well, again, depending on what you call losing, my friend. It all depends.
So what is losing?
Did you put in your best? Now tell me something, some of the countries, you saw the World Cup series, football. Was that a game of football? No football, it was zero football. The entire game was pride in the country. Countries rejoiced and countries cried. Does that mean the country which did not gain the World Cup series, or they were not the final winners, does that mean they're losers? Not at all. They put in 100%, they did a great job. I'll share with you a quick example. 3 people ran a marathon. One went with the objective, he had never run a marathon, he wanted to find out, can I finish it? 2, second person had run a previous year, they wanted to better their own record. Third person wanted to check out endurance, can I really do it in the shortest time? All 3 people went into the marathon. None of them won the medal. The 4th person won the medal. Were they losers? Absolutely not. You know why? First guy went in, checked out his own, he was able to complete it. Second person bettered their own record. Third checked out the endurance. All 3 were winners all the way. What a way to look at it. Winners, in fact, success is not measured by how we do as compared to others, but how we do as compared to what we are capable of doing. Go check out athletes better their own record constantly, and they go on and on and on, and that's really the bottom line.
I think the distinction I was drawing was that success ought to be the way you describe, but it very rarely is. You've frequently talked about integrity and values. What is the yardstick for value, for the choices that we make? We're in a corporate battle. A company seeks to take over someone else because it wants to better its profits, or a CEO wants to be CEO over somebody else. What values, what integrity comes into play here?
Rajiv, I'm not able to give you the entire numbers here, but the concept what I'm sharing is pretty accurate. There was a study done in the United States, and the companies that, going back into the last 30, 40 years, companies that had their mission and values clear and their objective was to serve society, if you had invested $10,000 into those companies and purchased their stocks, you would end up with close to $1.4 million. That 10,000 would have grown to it. And I believe in the stock market, the index, whatever they call it, if you had put in money there, it would have grown the 10,000 into $240,000. As I said, I could stand corrected on these numbers, but on principle, this is pretty accurate. Just tell me, look at what this shows. This is reality. Now you're talking facts here. Companies that believed in service and maintained integrity, they came out way, way, way ahead on profits too. You know why? Their objective was to serve, and money was a byproduct. And whereas companies that only go in for profiteering, forget profit is good, profit's a good word, profiteering and that's about it and no matter what, eventually at some point they are not in business too, and if they do, they have no goodwill. So really the bottom line, what are we looking at? I mean, we all have our own definitions of success eventually, because it's a subjective item. To you mean recognition, rewards, money. To me means something else. It could mean anything. It's a very variable definition.
Well, I have to say that what you say makes me feel very comfortable. It makes me feel very good, and it makes me hope that that's the way the world is, and that seems to be a wonderful, logical place to be in. I'm not convinced that that's the way the world works. I'm not convinced that it is in fact the corporation that sets out to serve that ultimately triumphs, and that good and integrity always triumph over evil. I would suggest to you that that's the way it ought to be. That's the way we could bring ourselves happiness if we strove in that direction. But in fact, there is evil in this world.
Of course.
There is ambition and profit that triumphs over integrity and values in the social, societal context. It seems to bring people gratification. I see a lot of good people suffer. I see a lot of not so good people succeed.
But you see, you said it seems to get the evil gratification. I don't know. That's what you think. I'm not, and I'm sure I don't believe that. I don't think they have gratification. Making a lot of money doesn't making a lot of success either. I mean, maybe that's their definition.
How important is money to you?
Money is very important to everybody, and it has to be. Now, let me just share with you, you talked about integrity here. Look, today it's, the environment is, when you said the integrity is not, it's an old value, but it's not an obsolete value. There's a world of difference between the two. And integrity and cheating is given the same meaning in New York, New Delhi, New Zealand. There's no difference on country or culture.
Clarify. I'm not opposing. I mean, I think integrity and values are extremely important.
Okay. Now, coming back to it, you see, funny part is, even the cheats and crooks, they want the lieutenant to be honest. Hello? Look at this, what I'm sharing with you here. The cheats and crooks, they want their supporters to be honest with them. So that means they still want it, but it never works that way, because they are the kind of role model, and they will get backstabbed the same way they backstabbed somebody else. And look at this. Today, it's not the honest guy who's fed up. Even the cheats and crooks are fed up because they meet bigger cheats and crooks. And this is one race nobody can win. So really, the bottom line comes down to is integrity. I mean, you might find people making short-term gains back and forth, but then that's fine. I mean, if they can live comfortably with that, that's up to them.
What bothers me is that the ultimate goal of integrity and honesty is still to make profit and to sell. And we come from an ideal in India of Gandhi, of sacrifice, of austerity, of simplicity, and I don't see the two meshing in any way. I don't see integrity sort of coexisting with the profit motive in some senses. I don't see it coexisting with competition. All the elements that make up the corporate world, make up business.
Well, they absolutely go together. I mean, I see it the other way around. They go together because when you talk of simplicity and Gandhi, I mean, he was not opposed to making money. He was a practicing lawyer himself. At one time, I'm sure he did charge some fees somewhere. I don't know exactly, but I'm sure he did. Otherwise, how was he living when he was practicing law? I'm sure he probably inherited some money from his dad or whatever he did. I have no idea. But we're living in an age now today, about almost 90 years when he was born, or 100 years away from the time. And the world is moving forward. And
is it?
Well,
I mean,
it is. it is going into the next century here.
It's moving forward
Yeah.
in time, but,
In
but
time.
many would
That-
argue that
that-
it isn't
yeah, that's
moving
true.
forward. And sort of, I think Gandhi's notion of need and greed was a very decisive argument. And what worries me is that we can use the instrument or the veneer of integrity to keep cultivating greed. And so we have a society, we have a context where we are increasingly becoming consumers, consumers of the environment, consumers of national resources more than the earth can sustain. Integrity is surely far more complex than merely sort of situated in the context of one's business practice or a leadership role. It is a much larger, universal context.
Well, you see, Rajiv, when we talk that our needs or usage, consumer things are more than the earth can sustain, that's a scarcity complex. Can you imagine the wastage that is going on today? It's phenomenal wastage. I mean, if you just contain some of those things, there's enough abundance all over that it can sustain people well with a good standard of living. And that, I mean, I believe that. But you see, the moment it comes to scarcity complex, just the way you mentioned, win-lose situation, if I got this position, somebody's deprived of it or whatever. Who says I'm deprived of it, buddy? There's nothing to stop you. All success stories are stories of great failures. They did in spite of all kinds of problems. They were turned down, they were fired, somebody had some handicap, so what? They did it all the way. So you see, coming from that perspective, I don't think there's a scarcity complex anywhere. So long as we can utilize the resources, it's not what we keep getting, but just using what we have. We are abusing and misusing what we have, and that's the sad part.
Well, tell us about a little bit about yourself. You've sort of been quite candid about acknowledging the processes of your struggle to arrive at where you did. What did you go through any sort of conscious processes, reading techniques, practices to arrive at where you are, or did it sort of spontaneously happen?
Well, you see, it's been a process of almost 25 years, and maybe earlier than that too. I mean, these things go. But when I went to Canada, I started washing cars on the street and gradually went on. But some things happened, like I wasn't even started out well with selling life insurance. Till I got exposed to people like Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, I sat through programs, started reading books, and got into sales. Sales is a rejection business. You got to take 10 no's before you get a yes. So you see, to take 10 no's, many people quit. In fact, selling is that one business which is one of the highest turnovers in the sales profession. People can't make a living. You know, when you get a no, 9 no's before you get a yes, people take it personally. They don't realize your product is being rejected, not you. And you can't take it. And people leave selling. And especially insurance selling is even tougher because it's concept, you cannot kick it around. But those kind of things started giving me a different perspective, and then I started realizing, where am I? What am I doing? And how do I head through life? And I learned a lot of things from people much wiser than me, who I shall always remain grateful to. But eventually, I started research and reading books one after the other, and started evolving all what we did. So I don't take credit for what I'm sharing with people. It's not all mine. I mean, and for that matter, nothing is original anyway. You tell me, Kennedy learned from somebody else, Lincoln learned from somebody else. What's original? There's nothing original.
Was there a single cataclysmic moment when you felt, this is what I was going to do?
Well, it so happened at some point, going back, I'd say probably more like about 12, 13 years, I started volunteering my time in the jails in the United States, in maximum security prisons. And I saw lives change, and I said, boy, this makes sense. And if I can work right here, let me take it to the corporate world and outside. And so I did. And that was the biggest gratifying moment, that it is time for me to share with others what I have gained in life, and if I can just leave a little legacy, that's one way of repaying people who have shared their lives with me.
Shiv Khera, thank you very much. That's been a great pleasure. Thank you.